Hey guys, this is WhySB Talks with Shreyans, and we have three amazing people today. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi guys, I'm Rishabh.
Hi guys, I'm Bhagyashree.
Hi folks, I'm Rajat.
So today we'll be talking about multiple topics. So I'll just let them introduce themselves. I'll speak a brief about themselves, and then we'll start with all the interesting stuff. Over to you, Rish.
Thank you, Shyam. So I'll just start talking about my background. So by background, I'm an engineer. I graduated from IT Bombay in 2022. One of the major things that I did at IT Bombay, and certainly it was not academics, was I worked a lot in the entrepreneurship cell of IT Bombay. And then I was also involved into the cultural activities and all the sports activities organized, moved into Asia's largest college cultural festival. Then I was also part of the entrepreneurship cell. I did a lot of activities over there. I organized some of the entrepreneurship competitions, which is when I got introduced to investors and then developed my understanding and interest into the entire entrepreneurship and venture capital space. But as college placements happened, I got into a strategy consulting firm straight after IIT Bombay. Worked there for 2 years, which really developed my understanding of problem solving. But then when I decided to make a switch when things weren't working out, I decided that I should follow my passion and the interest that I had developed over the years, and which is when I decided to make a switch into the venture capital space. Joined Unicorn India Ventures, worked there for the last 2 years. I was the lead for deploying around 200 crores of capital across different companies in the deep tech space. So yeah, that's been my experience till now. Thank you.
Great experience, bro. Just one question that I have for you is what would be the one investment since you worked in venture capital which you would be really proud of?
Okay, so one of the investments that I am really proud of heads straight back to my roots. So I'm originally from Bihar, and one of the last investments that I worked on while I was taking my leave from the firm was a company called CropPoint. So what they do is, I am slightly inclined towards the impact-based initiative. I always have a soft corner for the impact-based startups. And this company, what they were doing is they were going to all the poultry farmers in Bihar. They were collecting waste from them, and then they were turning it into organic fertilizers, which they were then selling to farmers in Bihar. So it was a circular economic kind of startup. They were also helping the poultry farmers all in and across Bihar, and they were helping all the farmers in Bihar working on different kinds of produces. And they had also done multiple test results, which indicated that their fertilizers were on par as compared to chemical fertilizers. So it was a very good and impactful initiative, and it was actually started by the ex-founders of Egos. So they had exited a while back, and then they had started this initiative, which was something really impactful. I went to their farms, I went to their different partner farmers who were doing all of this, got really good feedback from all of them, and thought that it would just be a good idea to support their initiative as well as the idea that they were building upon.
It's basically an impact idea, which also was related to your roots. That's really amazing. It's so lovely to have your introduction. We move on to Nagish.
So, hi everyone, I am Bhagyashree. I'm an engineer by qualification, but after engineering, embarked on a very unconventional path, chose to be an entrepreneur straight out of college. So, I had a startup along with the co founder of mine. We were friends in college and we started into the health and wellness space. The first year was amazing, second year was amazing. Third year onwards, started facing some structural ceilings, and that is when I realized that I need to learn more. So, when the startup hit the natural ceilings and I, instead of forcing it to be something that it was not, decided to take a step back and learn and build the missing muscles. And that is where I took up a formal finance course, a proper formal finance training, and joined an investment firm in their founder's office. That is where I got exposed to the world of equity and debt and all things finance. And that is when my interest peaked into the private market side of things, which is ventures in their very, very early stages and bringing about real impact in the lives of consumers and the entire nation. That is when I took up the private markets verticals formally. I did a course by then that was Kaya. That's a course by the CFA Institute. That is what I did. And then took up the private markets vertical where I was responsible for managing and deploying about 50 crores of capital.
That's a lot to take in, obviously. It's really good to have you here. I just have one question because your unique experience makes you someone who has been on both the sides of the table as an entrepreneur as well as a venture capitalist. So, for all the entrepreneurs out there, what is the one thing that you would recommend? Maybe they could fix in their pitch or maybe fix in themselves, which could actually help them get better funding.
So one thing that I've noticed in my last 2 year stint as a micro VC of sorts is many founders in the effort to raise funding forget consumer obsession or forget that why this matters to the consumers. Many founders start pitching of why it matters to the investors, whereas it should be why it matters to the consumers, because consumer obsession and knowing the consumer really, really well is something we all look out for, me as a founder and as an investor. So that is something I think that for early stage founders, people like me can work on whenever we build.
Very well said. I think company runs on customer obsession, not on funding. Now we'll move over to you, Rajat. All right. Would love to have your introduction.
Thank you, Shreyans, for getting us here over on a random Friday night. It already feels really interesting to know really nice set of folks here. I'm Rajat Malik, born and brought up in Delhi, youngest member of a joint family of six. Grew up with my grandparents as well as my parents and an elder sister in a business family. I loved business in and out. Back in 11th grade, actually, I had my first idea. I wanted to sell Rajma Chawal. I was a Rajma Chawal lover and I thought that there could be a better way of doing it, right? 50 मिनट बेचूंगा पैसा बनेगा 5 गाड़ियां चलाऊंगा महीने का 3-4 लाख रुपए बन जाएगा life is sorted, right? And I arranged everything and finally even talked to the MCD, police, chefs, arranged everything. I told my dad, also opening आ जाना. And my dad gave me a tight slap that day. Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. But started focusing on academics and got into Hindu College, University of Delhi. And as soon as I reached there, I realized I don't have my dad to stop me anymore. I can venture or do what I want to. So joined entrepreneurship cell, went to a lot of internships, went around networking with a lot of different people to truly find my calling. And I realized that I love building stuff at heart. So during the years of college, became the president of eCell and got eCell to number one cell in Delhi University. And this was very early days of when the Indian startup ecosystem was just getting started. Right? So I was given consulting offer, but I decided I don't want to take that. I left that writing a very passionate email, and hence I'm blocked by a lot of consulting firms. I started building my own venture, raised funding, scaled it to 3 different cities, had a 2.4 crore ARR, but COVID happened. So unfortunately, I had to sell my company off. It was a decent deal. Moved ahead, thought what I want to do next, joined a VC firm. And I realized that I love being a builder, like slightly more. So moved back to one of the portfolio companies called Beat-O. Beat-O, so Beat O is the symbol of diabetes, so Beat Diabetes. Also started by an ISB Allen. And the moment I joined, we raised Series B. So we had 250 crores of capital, and the world changed for me. Because back in the days, I was trying to solve with limited capital and resources. Here I had virtually unlimited capital and a great set of problem and smart set of people to solve. So for first 2 years, I was the chief of staff to CEO, working across different projects, taking 0 to 1 initiatives, AOP making, commercial steering. That was very interesting. Then I was promoted to director growth, where my major purpose was to lead growth, acquire users. So I was managing 30 crore ARR PNL, building from scratch in those 2 years. So my journey has primarily been around the entrepreneur.
What a crazy roller coaster journey. That's really lovely to know that. One particular question that I have for you is that a lot of us from the audience who are, so I'm also an aspiring entrepreneur, did some project fame, and so I relate to you completely. And a lot of us feel that going back to a job to learn is very important. Now, since you have also been on a similar journey, would love to know your views and would love to know how would you like to recommend those people or one pointer that you would like to add why to do a job or why to do entrepreneurship, especially when to do it.
So firstly, Shreyans, it's really nice to know that you love entrepreneurship as much as I do. For folks who are entrepreneurship enthusiasts, I think a great way to getting really started is to take a job in founder's office role or an early stage startup is because there is no structured science to building, right? It's an art as well as a science. And if you can really spend time with building with mature founders, they can help you cut short of the mistakes that you'll probably make while building on your own, right? You get on early insights, you get to know a lot of people, you get to know the numbers. It's essentially it's like a crash course in your that you can do to get the early bedrock lessons of entrepreneurship. So for me, a greatest advice for anybody would be take a job in an early stage startup with a great founder, irrespective of the industry, but a great startup founder.
Thank you so much, Rajat, for your lovely insight. I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of people that might get inspired from it. So this ends our first segment, that is Know Your People. Now we move on to the second segment, which is called Charcha. Now the segment 2 we'll be talking about, it is called Charcha. So it is an open platform. We'll just introduce a topic and you guys just share your views, what you feel. All right. So the first topic is that there are a lot of people who are aspiring to be an entrepreneur. The biggest problem that we have, like Rajat Bhai rightly said, is firstly which job to do. But a more important question is when to leave your job, when should you take a leap, and how should you become an entrepreneur? What are the first steps that you should do? What are things you should avoid? So we'll just be having an open discussion on that. So anyone who wants to start.
So yeah, so okay, so I'll go ahead first, and I'll try to answer this question from a VC's perspective. So the very first thing that you asked was when to leave your job and when to pursue your idea full time. So one thing that's really important, and we as VC also understand that jobs are important because it supports the livelihood of people. And when a startup starts, you might not have any kind of revenue, and it's important to survive. Therefore, you need to take a job. But whenever you go for institutional funding, maybe you have an angel investor, that's okay. Angel investors are typically fine with you having another job. But when you go for institutional funding, maybe Series A, pre Series A, any kind of VC which has a particular kind of SHA that they will sign with you and they'll take certain kinds of rights, it's always a better idea to have your focus full time on that particular company so that you are able to do justice to the capital that is coming in. In terms of when do you want to start on working on an idea, that comes even before the capital inducing phase. And that is my opinion on this is very simple. If you have a problem at your hand that you feel very strongly about, and you also have a solution that is unique and solves the pain points of the different customers who you will be serving through the idea, start working on it. I mean, there could be n number of problems that you will face. There could be n number of roadblocks that could come to you before you start working on the idea. But once you start working on it, you just keep going. If you feel strongly about the idea, you'll just sail through everything. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I totally second what Rishabh said, and I think he's given a very, very comprehensive answer of when should you leave your job. I would like to speak on the second part of the question, which is more on how do you navigate through the initial first few years of your job, of your entrepreneurial journey. And I can tell you from what I did, and as an entrepreneur, I believe it's extremely important to be resilient. There is no replacement of that attribute. It's important to be resilient, it's important to be adaptable. It's and that is because if you have a great mentor, well and good, but even if you don't, you have to be the one who's your biggest cheerleader. You have to be the one who's your worst critic as well. It's easy as people, and as people who are passionate about something, speaking from personal experience, it's easy to just the ostrich effect, as they call, to just forget what the world is saying and be so lost in what you are doing that you don't realize when you're going wrong. And I think that is a problem.
as an early entrepreneur. If you have a mentor, well and good, but otherwise you have to be a worst critic and mend your ways when it's required. That is the only trait that's helped me throughout 4 years, to mend traits as and when required, to accept when something is wrong, and be okay with saying that it's okay. I didn't have that data before. Today I have the new data points, and I will work with these new data points and the new data set I have. So I think this is very important to navigate the early years and early time of entrepreneurship.
Wow, so most of what I wanted to say is already covered, but I'll put in my perspective. I think, Shreyansh, entrepreneurship is a mental frame, right? And it's not one person doing a job, it's a family that also gets impacted, right? Especially when we see these entrepreneurs getting started post 25 or early 25s. So I think, firstly, is you should have your downside covered, right? In terms of finances. If you have that, built that kind of finances or savings that can support you from 6 months to 12 months, first of all, that is a key metric, I think. Or if your parents or family can support you on that ground, because you don't want to be worrying about your foods and bills when you started building something. So that is, I think, first policy. Second is, if you want to go on the track of entrepreneurship, there's very high possibility that you already have an itch, right? You keep looking for ideas, you try to solve something. So there is always a trick between, should I start now or should I learn these two more things and then get started? So I think you don't need to choose. You should parallelly get started. Probably take a basic idea, start working on the job, get it at least validated in the market, and then once you see the early signs that this is working out, then you should jump off the bandwagon and go full time. So I think these two are the key parts. And third is, it's more about the confidence of when you feel ready. So example, a lot of these folks would have given GMAT, right? Even in GMAT journey, it is a lot about when you feel confident that I know the concepts enough and I can get started. A validation for this might be your mock tests. A similar here is that if your MVP is validated, you're seeing your revenue coming in, or you're seeing customer testimonials who are really loving your product, right? That is giving you confidence that you have built something and there's potential. So I'll give this, and hence I'm creating this analogy with GMAT exams. Once you feel ready, then you should go ahead. So savings, feeling ready, as well as the good.
I think I think all of you have displayed so many great points, because being an ex-entrepreneur, I feel that if this was the advice that I would have received from maybe my friends or mentors, I'm pretty sure the ways would have been different. While everybody learns and grows, of course, it is a part of
So
life.
you're saying you're not your friends?
Now you are. So thank you so much for this advice. We'll move on to the next topic of charcha, like, which is that PEVC is very difficult to get into if you're not from that background, if you're not from a finance background. Would love to know all of your thoughts.
I think let's start with Rajat this time.
Let's start with Rajat.
So I disagree on the point that it is very difficult to get if you're not coming from a finance background, which is, I actually do not completely disagree, but there are nuances to this answer, right? Is this a micro VC, early stage startup, or a late stage startup? Because the role, the stage that the VC in is also differentiates the kind of folks they may be looking at. But as we have learned from Rishabh's background, he was moving from a consulting background to a VC background. When I moved from a VC background, I was moving from an entrepreneurship background to a VC background, and for same for Bhagyashree. She was moving from an entrepreneurship background to a VC background. So I think, at the core, no, it's not very important that you have to come from finance only, at least in the early stage of micro VCs that I have observed. You need to either come from an operator background, or you need to come working or building your own venture, or you're coming from a consulting background. I've seen these set of folks also cracking VC roles, and they've been able to do great wonders at their jobs. So that is at least my perspective.
Totally agree with what Rajat has said, that this answer is very layered. There are many nuances to what stage of the firm, what sector, what type of sector are they interested in. For example, if there is a VC that is purely into climate tech, you may not come from a VC background, but if you are an expert in that field, if you worked in that field for 6, 7, 8, 10 years, then the VC will be more than happy to take you in. So it is not that you need to be a finance buff to get into VC. Yes, finance is an important part of it because it's the language of the business and you need to understand the language of the business. But again, this varies from stage to stage. It won't matter as much for a pre-seed company, but will matter hugely for a growth stage company. So that's in a nutshell.
So very well summarized all of the points that came in. I'll just like to add in my perspective of how I made that switch. So I was an engineer by background, then I got into strategy consulting. But when I decided to make a switch, it was definitely a tough job. So I had to like make a database of 300 different VCs, reach out to them via emails, cold emails, LinkedIn reach outs, all of those different things. Went to some of the networking events to network with VCs. And after doing all of this, I got positive replies from like 5 VCs, got 3 interviews, converted 2 of them, and then joined one of those firms. So it is definitely difficult, and the time frame that we are looking at here, 1 year time frame, the placements, the VCs that would come in for placements, they would definitely be interested in the folks that have a prior background, some kind of relation to a VC related work or an investment related work, because the time frame itself that we have here is very limited. But what can easily counter this is you going to different VCs and reaching out to them, because the hiring cycles in VCs are not fixed like other firms, like consulting companies, and the VC teams are very small, maximum of 10 people in a VC team. Yeah, leanest teams. And those people will be handling like 200 crores per person. So
Lowest attrition.
yeah, lowest attrition, and that's why it's very important for you to go and network at as many startup mixers, as many VC mixers as possible, and definitely try to build your POV around the investment thesis or POV around that VC's investment in a company, which might help you break the ice with a particular partner or associate or any kind of person working in that company. On top of that, nowadays VCs have come up with a very specific role, which is called entrepreneur in residence. So a lot of the VCs nowadays hire people who have operator experience, startup experience in a specific domain, a domain that they want to establish their expertise and thought leadership in. And that is where lot of founders join these VCs to get an idea of how VCs work, so that they are able to aid their ventures as well in the future. So that is also something that's helpful.
I think overall the summary is that if you work hard enough, you can get into it. Right.
The ultimate success mantra.
The ultimate success
I think
mantra.
it boils down to this at the end of the day. That you could say for any conversation. No, just that you could say for any conversation. It all boils down to this.
So that ends our second segment, Charcha. Now we will be moving on to our third segment, which is called rapid fire. So this is a rapid fire round. I request all of you to have your hand on the table. So we'll be asking a series of questions to our friends, and the one thing that they have to do is they have to tap and answer firstly either true or false. Secondly, why do they think so? All right. So let's start, and you'll get the hang of it. All right. The first question is that failed entrepreneurs are worthless. Bhagyashri, you're the first one.
No. The false failed entrepreneurs are not worthless. I think failed entrepreneurs bring with them the a variety of experiences which are very, very, very useful to everyone, to any company, because the insights that failed entrepreneurs have and the insights that they bring are worth learning from. So false.
Second question is that D2C industry is the hottest industry to work or build in right now.
Partially true. Also has to be the fact that what you truly like. But few numbers in the D2C industry: $12 billion, expected to be 5x in next 3 years, 800 plus startups. We are seeing great exits happening in this industry already. But why is the question, right? Why is this hottest industry? So we have to also see the Indian population at this point of time. Indian population is exploding in terms of the income gains. So the spending on discretionary items is increasing significantly. Hence, D2C brands are going to explode. Also, the fact that quick commerce is here, right? Quick commerce has inherently changed the D2C industry and has increased the size for that. So I think D2C industry is going to be really big in the coming years.
But isn't it very competitive as well?
Ask again. Ask again.
But isn't it very competitive as well? Because as and how more startups are coming in the industry, a very very hot industry and space to be in because of the demographics that you mentioned, I think that's also driving up the CAC. That's also driving up all other costs to do a business.
101%. It's one of the most competitive industries because it's very difficult to build a moat as well, right? There is very limited barriers to entry. You can get a contract manufacturer, get a branding expert on board, and get started in the next 2-3 months, right? But the differentiator in these industries becomes the founder's experience and the capital you're able to raise. I think those two become a significant moat. Founders experience, because if you have truly have those insights, example, we say that Indian population is 140 crore and that's your market size. No, I don't think. D2C industry works on top 10% only, right? Which is the major game. So your addressable market is probably the 14%, which have greater than 67% share of discretionary spends. So India one, alpha India one, right? So it becomes very different in those regards, and hence I think it will take its own time. But once you have the right capital and right experience, you can build a great brand.
Very well said, Rajat bhai. And I'll just add one small statistic because I used to serve this industry. So this will also help you evaluate if you want to start a D2C company or not. There are around 1.5 Shopify websites live, 1.5 lakh Shopify websites that are live, but out of them only 3,000, 3,500 are making above 1 CR a month. Only 100 are making above 10 CR a month. So whenever you start to evaluate these things, one thing that you could also look at is experience. All right, moving on to the next question. Be prepared. Working hours for finance are 16 hours a day for 7 days a week. I'll give it to Rishabh.
So this is 100% a myth. I'll tell you my working hours. So I used to go into the office at around 10-11 a.m. I used to come back at 4-5 p.m. with 1 hour lunch in between. So it starts that way. When you start working in a VC or a finance job, you have a lot of analysis that the partners throw at you because they want you to learn very fast. But once you have that equity with partners, once you have worked on very good deals, uh, for example, in my case, we were pitching to IT. So IT Madras had invited a lot of VCs to help manage their VC fund that they were launching. So of the 30 different VCs that were pitching, our uh, so I was working in Unicorn India Ventures, and I made the pitch, and we won that project. And because of that, we brought in like 1,000 crores of capital and a new fund that we are about to launch. So once you have, point of saying this is that once you build that equity with partners by doing all of this, you don't need to work that hard. It's basically a people management job, and then it's more about the outcomes. The working hours are very flexible. You don't need to go into office also every single day because there are numerous events that will be happening that you can go to instead of going to the office and add more value. So yeah, definitely not 16 hours a day.
I would love to hear Bhagyashree experience. Does it change in early stage VC? Does it change in early stage VC?
Okay, so adding to what Rishabh said and to your question, Rajat, so as we say, VC is a lot about talking to people. If, for example, I am outside, I'll just give one example and I think this should answer everything. If I am outside with the founder for dinner at 9 p.m., does it count in my working hours or not?
Fair.
That's a question to answer, and I think that's where this comes from, and that's where the answer goes as well.
I'd just like to add. So I'll just like to add one more point, and definitely, I mean, if you're naturally interested in the field, if you naturally enjoy talking to founders, talking to builders who are doing different things, you get to know all the different ideas that they're building upon. It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
So that's why my working hours are like 10 to 5. But then I go and talk to multiple founders over coffee chats, over a beer at a pub, maybe. So that doesn't feel like work. That's why I didn't include it. But fair point. Yeah.
So I since I've not spent a lot of time in VCs, I can't really answer. But for limited period that I was there, I was working with Arpit, who's the current head of startups at NASCOM, right? And that guy was just crazy. So post lunch, he used to go out for a 10-minute walk. And this 10 minutes, he used to understand where I was coming from, give me the right set of whys to find, and also conclude and give me directional idea, right? And similarly, when in the evening we used to sit for 10 minutes in chai, he used to still consolidate what were the key insights, what is next to be solved, and what to go ahead with. So I think, again, does that count as hours or not? But for that 10 minutes of conversation, I'm sure his last 10 years of experience has built in that direction.
I think these types of insights are something that a lot of people pay lakhs to get access to. So really grateful.
already have it. 40 lakhs from SBI.
Everybody's paid some lakhs to come here, so but people pay you, not the other way around. But so I think these are the insights that people pay a lot to get access to. So really lovely to have all of you here. I have, I just have one last question, and it is very related to today's world. All right, and I think I'll not keep it a rapid fire because I would want everyone's views on it as an entrepreneur as well as a venture capital view.
I think I'm sitting at the right
You're exactly sitting at the right place
Perfectly
because Bhagyashree is sitting at the right place because she's in between an entrepreneur and a venture capitalist, and she's done everything. Just a question that I have is that in today's world, particularly talking about artificial intelligence, do we think it is used wisely or abused in terms of VC pitches, in terms of how entrepreneurs are using it, in terms of a lot of things? So it is an open-ended question. Just want your views on it.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I definitely believe that artificial intelligence is here to stay. Like in the 1990s, you would have imagined, and you might have seen World Wide Web or WWW as something that's very revolutionary. That's the kind of impact AI is having right now, and it is definitely going to get even better. Just imagine this as the worst version of AI is with you right now, and it is only going to get better from here. Like comparing 5 years from now. So, I mean, even if people are abusing it, I would say that's how people will learn how to build different outcomes out of it, how to utilize it for all the different use cases. And unless you have a grasp of AI in the current age, like you can make a pitch deck in just 10 minutes if you have a solid grasp of your idea or the thing that you're building, trying to build upon. So definitely AI is being abused. There are some power users who have a lot of different use cases, like people use OpenClaw and everything to like uh, have personal agents to handle all of their workflows. But that's how you'll learn. I mean, abusing is fine. It's the early days of AI. You need to understand how to solve the different problems that you have at hand, and I think it's fine the way it's going about right now.
Totally agree because AI, just as he mentioned, that abusing in the early stage of AI is fine because that's how you learn, that's how you experiment, and you find out its use cases. But coming back to if it's being abused or not, I think the word AI per se is widely abused. Anything and everything is being labeled as AI. I've seen simple chatbots being labeled as AI. I have in the last 4 months of my tenure, there was not a single pitch deck that I have analyzed that didn't have the word AI. There was a It's a funny story that there was a very early stage company that was making some sort of guns. Even they used the word AI, which was just out of context because you need the word AI to be there, right? So yes, it's being widely abused, the word, but the usage, I think all of us will figure out.
So, Shreyansh, I have a different perspective. I think, so firstly, coming from an entrepreneurship background, I think there are only two things that create a gap in the market. Either it's government or technology. And AI has created that gap. Okay. Now, coming to uses and abuses, yes, there are uses as well as abuses. It's true for every technology out there. But the uses outweighs the abuses, and hence it's going to stay, right? The productivities are going to be significantly higher, the speeds, the efficiency are going to be significantly higher. There's going to be a lot more capital flowing into this industry. The world is going to change, and there will be a lot of startups who will come in and create new things around it. And there will be, of course, downsides, there will be upsides. But more than that, I think when I zoom out, I largely see AI as a good thing for the world to come in. My biggest concern here is that it while all of us are very fortunate that we have access to AI, but a lot of people don't, right? And this gap is now going to be significantly increased, which is my biggest fear at heart today. And I think that is one thing we should solve together as the world.
Completely agree with what you said, Rajat, and that's why in my previous organization we were also working on a thesis to make AI accessible and have the infrastructure for AI in India so that Indians and our entire country have more access to AI. So, for example, there was a startup which was started by ex-OYO founder, ex-OYO COO, Fluids.ai, and then they changed their name right now. Oh, even you have invested in it. Oh, interesting. So we invested in that company, and they are now pivoted to making infrastructure for AI compute, and then they are selling it to the likes of Nvidia. But the important thing is that the entire data will be in India, and and the use cases will serve people of India. Likewise, they'll also serve international clients, but they'll also serve a lot of the people in India, and that's why it will make AI more accessible and uh, easy to use for everyone in the country. So that's really important.
The world is going to change and how? The world is going to change and how? That's it's a new world that we are living in, and it's a new and a very beautiful world, I think, that we all will see. Just that we have to be precarious of the repercussions if used badly or abused.
And just one last thing, I think uh, AI will not replace humans. In fact, with the advent of AI, the value of humans has increased. Today, if I get two reports, one is AI, one is human, I can make out and I trust the other person a little more, right? Because there is a value to being connected as humans.
I think the 3 points that you guys talked about were really good. Firstly, while we started off with uses of AI, one point that Rajat Bhai really raised was that accessibility is more important because if people are not even aware about it, there'll be a very big gap between the markets. And the third point, as you stated, is authenticity. That even after usage, how do you ensure the quality of the product? I think these are some things that we all need to think about because we are the future generations and we dictate how we want our AI or how we want our world to be. And today, artificial intelligence is a very big factor. And on that note, we would like to end this podcast. Firstly, thank you so much, all of you, for coming in.
Last question for everyone.
Sure, sure. One last question from Rajat.
So, understanding the conversations and your walks of life, I'm really, really inspired and seeing that you guys are really accomplished in your field and you continue to doing so. I just want to understand what drives you. So take your answer. I want a core answer that this is really what drives me because a lot of people today also ask us, right? Because you're unique, your journey has been unique, you've been accomplished at a certain degree. What truly drives you at heart?
I'll start with the answer since the moderator has changed now.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So, for the longest time, what used to drive me was money. And having seen a lot of money in my family, relatives, etc., I used to feel that this is something that makes you a great person. But after that, one question after I left my last job, so sales is a very transactional role. One particular thing I used to ask myself was, what is the difference between a billionaire and someone like Ratan Tata, someone like Shah Rukh Khan, where people parade for them, people cheer for them. And when Ratan Tata passed away, God bless his soul, the whole nation paused. What separates them from someone who has money? I think the answer to that is being kind to people. So lately, my objective in life is not only to be achieving something but also to take people together with me, so that you not only have your support but people give you blessings. It is not about just earning money. It becomes a goal, it becomes a vision. I think that is what drives me right now.
Uh, for me, it comes from my childhood experiences. So I was born and brought up in a small town of Bihar called Purnia, and this was the end, like late 90s and early 2000s, when Bihar was not in a very good state because of the entire political thing, and a lot of robberies and everything. So even our family was, I was from a very humble family. We had seen a lot of hardships. Even my parents had to postpone many of their needs because they wanted me to study in a good place, and they had to sacrifice all of those things so that I got the life that that they wanted me to have. So that is something that has always fueled me. I've seen a lot of problems happen, lot of problems that people around me face during my childhood, and I have always since then tried to find the answers to those problems, tried to find, try to solve those problems to the extent as possible. And that was also one of the reasons I wanted to become a VC, because later on in life, maybe 5 years down the line, I want to start my own impact investing fund, and to try and solve all of those problems, to find the answers. So yeah, that is something that has been driving me. And closing this on a more positive note, and what VC Rishabh lives by is one quote that I have been talking about at different events, and whenever I meet with entrepreneurs, is entrepreneurs don't fail, businesses do.
So I think a lot of what we are today comes stems from our childhood experiences and the things we've experienced along the way. They shape us in a way. They shape our psychology, our thinking, and since childhood, my parents have gone well beyond their means to I've been the only child, the single child, and they've gone well beyond their means to ensure I get what I want, and they've acted like a sponge to just shield me from everything that was happening in and around. And that has really made me value education. And that has somehow helped me be very, very curious about everything. So, one thing that innately drives me today, Rajat, to answer your question is the FOMO of being average. I can't stand being average. So that is something that is apart from everything material and impact and things that I want to do in life. Um, Something that makes me do that is because I do not just want to stay another average being, and that leads to a lot of curiosity that reflects in the choices I make, that reflects in the readings I do, that reflects in all my travel experiences. I travel extensively, that reflects in every single aspect of my life. So that is something that drives me. Yeah.
So I've also had very similar mindset, but does it not come at a cost of mental health? Because you'll be average at something in life.
It 100% does, but I think um, it pushes you to be better. If that doesn't exist, then you wouldn't be at a certain position, you wouldn't be a level higher. Even if you're not the best, you move up a notch, right? You elevate the quality of your life, you elevate the quality of your thoughts, you elevate your circle, you become a better being, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters, that you are a good human being and a better being than yesterday.
So, since I've asked this question, I have to answer this question too. What drives me actually, I also at lone at night, I like to sit with my thoughts and be a little philosophical. Just love that. Always excites me. But the answer to this came when I went to my childhood. Coming from a humble background, I've seen different financial difficulties, different things going around. And I was also driven by money because I thought money solves a lot of problems in life. But I think that was a juvenile thinking, it changes with time. But then I thought deeper as to why just entrepreneurship excites me. Why is that? So that too, I realized that I'm an underdog in my life, right? And startups too are underdogs in their field. When they're fighting with an enterprise, they don't have capital, they don't have humans, they don't have the best talent. It is just somebody with an opportunistic mind and a belief that I will solve for world, going out and fighting against everyone, right? And in the process, they are able to solve for a lot of people's lives, and that gives them the satisfaction truly. So I think for me, what has been driving me is that I identify myself as an underdog in life, and everything above from here is just best for me. Why don't I try? I might fail, but it's okay. I'll just keep learning and keep going.
I'll take back the moderation now, but that was a really good question, and I think everybody's answers were really personal, as well as there are no words to explain these answers. But I'll just say that it was really amazing hosting you all. You have been a lovely, I'll say, panel. All right.
I thought you were going to say audience.
I was going to say audience. I stopped.
I knew that.
He's searching for words in his head.
It has been really lovely hosting you guys. Thank you so much for this interview. And stay tuned for next episode.